Right now we're stood alongside the Kennet and Avon Canal, an 87-mile waterway which traverses the south of England. We also happen to be stood next to the Berkshire and Hampshire Railway. Unfortunately for the canal, owing to the uprising of the train in the late 19th and early 20th century, it soon became redundant and fell into disrepair. However, over a century later, volunteers and organisations restored it to its former glory. On the day of filming, we were treated to this small tidal wave in one of the upper sections. It seemed that somebody left one of the lower gates open, and subsequently this one needed refilling. In these early railway construction years, GWR had a monopoly in this area, but it certainly wasn't from lack of trying from other smaller companies. And that is the reason why we find ourselves here for today's episode of Railway Relics. Picture the scene. It's the late 1860s and GWR have opened the Berkshire and Hampshire Extension Railway. During its construction, a Marlborough businessman campaigns for an offshoot branch which is completed and connects Marlborough via a 5-mile line around Savernake. For a decade, GWR have things their way, until they get wind of a plan to join Swindon with Andover, part of a larger picture to route the north to south. The first of these two structures was built in 1883, and it was built by the Swindon, Marlborough and Andover Railway Company in order to traverse the Kennet and Avon Canal and subsequently join on to the Berkshire-Hampshire Extension Railway. As you can imagine, it wasn't ideal that this new railway line would have to use part of the existing GWR line in order to head north. This included use of the branch line up to Marlborough. This invasion on their territory didn't sit well with GWR. They were forced to upgrade the branch line and continued to cause numerous problems with train hold-ups from the north-south route. Ultimately, a solution was needed, and when London South Western Railway got involved, they loaned the now called Midlands and South Western Junction Railway a gentleman called Sam Fay. He took on as general manager of the company, and as we know, he shook it to the core. He decided that here was an absolute priority in order for the line to make money. Subsequently, he had this built. Not only did this traverse the Kennet and Avon Canal, but it also traversed the Berkshire and Hampshire Extension Railway. It headed almost alongside to the original Marlborough branch line. Owing to the height of the structure, in order to clear the Berkshire and Hampshire Extension Railway, the line came in much higher in Savernake Forest. In order to keep the gradient to a minimum, a tunnel was required around Savernake. In the end, a 600-yard tunnel was built, and trains were running through it by the end of 1898. If you head on up towards Marlborough on the A346, you'll see the two embankments on the south side of Savernake, where both lines used to cross the road. The northern portal of the tunnel can still be accessed from a pathway out of Marlborough. The southern end is questionable, but in any event, ensure that you are quiet owing to the bats nesting. And here is a railway relic we're left with today. The remnants of two large structures, both with the goal of helping the Midlands and South Western Junction Railway head north. The latter a little more successful than the original. And of course, if you head on up the canal a further mile, you'll come to the Bruce Tunnel. The Bruce Tunnel is yet another piece of stunning architecture in this area. It is 502 yards long and goes directly beneath the Berkshire and Hampshire Railway. The towpath seen here descends underneath the line. The tunnel, built entirely because one man didn't want a cutting through his land. Thomas Brundell Bruce had the tunnel built in 1810. That concludes today's episode of Railway Relics, where two companies, London South Western Railway and GWR, battle for supremacy, ultimately changing our landscape and leaving it shaped the way it is today. What would I even call it? Railway Relics? I can't say Railway Relics.
Railway Relics.
I'm like Jonathan Ross.
Like
Railway Relics.
Railway Relics.
Yeah.